is actually for summer 2022. And on the cover is Paul McCartney. And there's an article inside about his childhood home at 20 Forthlin Road in Liverpool. The ordinary home that changed musical history forever. And of course it's now owned by the National Trust. So I thought we could have a read through that and then see if there are any other articles that we might want to read in this magazine. So we will see whereabouts it is. Got an article here, a royal visit. That might be something to read as well. Yeah, I might do that one next. Here we go. So we have the same image that's on the front cover, and it's Paul McCartney in, I guess, his front door, the doorway, and he is holding on to a couple of drums. Okay. And then we have a little picture here. This is Mike McCartney, Paul's brother, revisiting 20 Forthlin Road, his childhood home in Liverpool. And yeah, left Paul in the same doorway. Are these with Mike's drums? Okay. Brothers Paul and Mike McCartney grew up at 20 Forthlin Road, an unassuming 2-up, 2-down council house in Allerton, Liverpool. They moved there in 1956 when Paul was 14 and Mike just 12. It was here, after their mother died unexpectedly of cancer after just a few months in the house, that the grieving boys found solace in music and photography. It was here that Paul's friendship with fellow Beatle John Lennon blossomed, helping John to come to terms with the sudden death of his own mother in a road accident. It was here the duo wrote some of their best known songs, including Love Me Do and I Saw Us Standing There, and where the Beatles and their forerunners, the Quarrymen, returned, elated after their Cavern Club performances. And it was from here that the family left in a clandestine midnight flit in 1964 as Beatlemania surged and Paul and his friends shot to global superstardom. The McCartneys were a close working was an earth-shattering time for her sons, and one that Mike still finds difficult to talk about, even so many years later. Their father, who had been in a band for a short time in his youth and had a much more relaxed approach to the arts than his wife, bought them a guitar and a banjo, acquired a drum kit that fell off the back of a lorry, and encouraged them to process their grief through music and photography. Time passed and the house became a musical haven as Paul and his friends rehearsed and composed in the parlour. Mike photographed them, little knowing the significance his pictures, developed and fixed in trays upstairs in his bedroom and the little bathroom, would one day come to hold. 20 Forthlin Road is now in National Trust care, lovingly restored to appear as it did when the McCartneys lived there, right down to the mismatched parlour wallpaper. Visitors can book onto tours of the house alongside John's childhood home of Mendips and imagine for themselves what it must have been like to grow up here at such a pivotal time in musical history. As Mike explains, it all started here. So I've got some photographs in this one here. This is Mary McCartney in the middle with her boys on a family holiday at a farm in North Wales, circa 1950. And below left, one of Paul and Mike's first jobs when they got in from school was to light the fire in the front parlour. And then this picture here. If they forgot their keys, Paul and Mike would climb up the drain pipe to get in through the toilet window. Okay. We are walking into 20 Forthlin Road, the little house in Allerton, Liverpool, where I used to live a million years ago, and the memories that come are quite extraordinary. This house was a very important part of my life and my brother's, because this is where we lived. It was from here that I went to big school. It was here that I learned photography, that I formed my band, The Scaffold. It was here my brother met his chums, and they came over and rehearsed. The first impression you get as you walk inside is how cold it is, and it's not cold today. The only place that was warm in the whole house was when the fire was light here in the front parlour. You'd have a bath upstairs and then run downstairs, freezing cold, and Mum would say, "Right, come on." She'd do our kid first, him being the elder one. When I say our kid, that's slang for brother or sister, so I mean my brother Paul, and then me. I'd sit in front of the fire, put my head down, and she would tussle it with her hand to dry it. We'd sit watching the black and white telly and feeling the cold from the window on the back of our heads. Lighting the fire was our first job when we got in from school. If you'd forgotten your key, you had to go in the back gate and climb the drain pipe. We'd go in the toilet window head first, amazing thing. The historic context of these things is fascinating because, okay, it's just pop, but actually it's not just pop. We, with our silly little songs, The Scaffold with Lily the Pink, and Thank You Very Much, Our Kids, Beautiful. Beatles songs, so many of them. That's what stays in people's memories. The happy songs are the things you remember, so they're important in the bigger picture. Let's just have a look at these photographs. Top left is Paul with his self-portrait, which made a big impression on Mike because of its depth and honesty. And this inset, the kitchen in 20 Forthlin Road, much as it would have been in 1955 when the McCartneys lived here. And then this one, Paul lost in his guitar, framed by his mum's net curtains. We're in the dining room now, and here's my drum kit. It fell off the back of a lorry. I was the Beatles' first drummer, you know. I was learning these drums, and the Quarrymen, the band that preceded the Beatles, used to come to Forthlin Road to rehearse. At the first rehearsal we decided to do what we called Keith Moon drum test, after the volatile drummer from The Who. I had to play the drums, and our kid had to go outside, along used to play a lot with his guitar, just lost. We both were. I had my photography to get lost in. It takes time to learn how to do it, but when it works, it's perfect. And now just to show you pictures at the bottom. So here, Paul posing with the instruments Jim bought for the boys. That was their father after their mum's death. And you can actually see Beatles written there on that big bass drum. And Mike below, the Beatles' first drummer, recreating the Keith Moon test in the dining room. I used to develop my pictures upstairs, here in my bedroom. We shared it when we were younger, but later our kid moved into the front bedroom on his own. My bed's the one facing the door. It's positioned in the best place in the house to spot Father Christmas coming in, by the way. I choose my Rolly Magic camera that our kid brought back from Hamburg so I could take his picture. To make him look like Elvis, I put the pictures in the fixer, little trays on the floor, then go into the bathroom to wash them. I'd hang the prints on a little washing line I'd made from a piece of string that went from my mirror to the cupboard. This must have been when I was about 16 or 17, when I was working at Andre Bernard's, the ladies' hairdressers, because I'd used little hairdressing clips I'd taken from there to hold the photos on the line. Here's our bathroom and the indoor toilet. Our kid used to play his guitar in the bathroom. He liked the acoustics. We used to doodle on the toilet walls while we were sitting here, as far as we could reach. I made a pen and ink mural in my room too, all around the light switch. We had to paint over it all because we moved out to stop souvenir hunters coming in and damaging the walls. We left in 1964. I'm down in London by now, and our kid's there too with his group. He asked Dad where he would like to live, thinking he might want to move to London too, but Dad was brought up here, and to him, Heswall, just outside Liverpool, was like Beverly Hills. So the picture at the top is the front parlour, showing 2 or 3 different wallpapers. Mary McCartney thought Sanderson paper was the best, but could only afford Rollens. Our kid tried to persuade him, but he wanted to live in Heswall, so that's what happened. Our kid was getting a few fans by this time, so we did a midnight flit. The fans still came after we'd gone, and Mrs. Jones, who'd moved in with her husband, sometimes invited them in and made them a cup of tea. But after 30 years, she'd had enough. She got in touch and asked whether we wanted to buy the house. We couldn't take it on, but we decided to see whether the National Trust would like it. And after they'd seen my old photos of how the place used to look, they did. This house is so important to me and to our kid. This is where minds were blown. This is where music history changed forever. This is the house of our formative years, where we lost our mum, where all of those extraordinary things happened, which weren't extraordinary. I liked taking photographs. My brother liked playing music. That's all. It's the history context that makes this house so important. Right, so swapped the front windows, modernised after the McCartneys moved out, with those of the house opposite. Now, as part of the Trust's commemoration of Sir Paul McCartney's 80th birthday this year, so obviously this is a couple of years ago, conservators and creators are working on the next phase for the house. They've been talking with archivists at Sanderson to try to source the last of Mary's 3 original wallpaper roll ends for the parlour, and exploring whether any of the doodles Mike mentions in the toilet and his bedroom still exist. They'll start, says Katie Taylor, cultural heritage curator for the Northwest, by using thermal imaging cameras to peek beneath the layers of paint. If that doesn't yield results, they'll carefully scrape off the top layers to look. It's a technique we use quite a lot in our historic homes and significant old buildings to discover previous historic decorative layers, she says. I think this might be the most recent house to have been worked on in this way. We don't know if the techniques will work on 60-year-old biro or pen and ink or pencil in the same way as on pigment paints. Maybe nothing has survived, or maybe it's all survived, protected because it's been painted over. That's one of the exciting things about working on relatively modern houses like this. How it might help conservators understand and preserve these sorts of materials in the future. It's a big year for commemoration since, as well as Paul's 80th birthday, the Beatles' first single Love Me Do, written in the front parlour at 20 Forthlin Road, was released 60 years ago. The Trust is working with the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, co-founded in 1996 by Paul and Mark Featherstone Whitty, to offer up and-coming musicians the chance to bring new music back to the house. This exciting project, based on an idea by musician and producer Alan Boyd, launched in April and will culminate in mid-June. Find out more on the Beatle Childhood Homes website. Well, I thought that was really interesting. I think I'll leave it there, and then I might read in the next video the little bit that we saw about Elizabeth II, the royal visit. Okay. Until then, this has been Kate at the Library of Whispers saying I shall see